Howdy everyone, welcome to Most of It, where I cover most things that I find interesting. Today we'll be covering the Imperium of Man from Warhammer 40k. But a few new people in the back, what is 40k? Well, it's a franchise based in the 41st millennium, thus 40k. Hey, look at you, you're already learning. I'm so proud of you. It follows many species through their adventures and wars throughout the galaxy. There are demons and space elves and space orcs and big old space bugs that are just hungry, okay? Back off. And there's also humanity in space, which is what we'll be focusing on today. So a few bits of basic knowledge before we get into things. Everything sucks. The setting as a whole, you don't want to live there. There are no good guys. Even humanity, who is often framed as the macho, good overall kind of guy. Everyone sucks. Nobody's good. Next thing, the warp. It is a parallel dimension to ours, full of energy and demons. It's kind of like hell, more like an afterlife, which is just generally sucky. Humanity draws on the warp for travel, using it as kind of like nether travel in Minecraft for people that play that. And psychers, which are psychically powered human beings, draw on the power of the warp and use it to fight or to manipulate things in real space. Within the warp reside the Chaos Gods. There are 4 of them at this current moment in the setting, at least 4 major ones. And there are Khorne, god of blood and war and skulls. Nurgle, god of decay and disease. Tzeentch, god of change and trickery and sorcery. And Slaanesh, god of pleasure and excess and debauchery. So on to the Imperium of Man now. The Imperium of Mankind is ruled by the God Emperor of Mankind, and yeah, that's his name. Get over it. And this guy is what's called a Psyker. He's one of the guys I mentioned earlier who was able to draw upon the powers of the warp and manifest them into real space. He is Big Boy Psyker, most powerful human Psyker ever. And he is a mega atheist. All right. He doesn't like gods at all. He doesn't want anyone anywhere believing in gods. So he, along with these 20 sons that he built within a laboratory called the Primarchs, he and his 20 sons set out across the galaxy a long time ago on something called the Great Crusade, which was an attempt to bring knowledge and enlightenment to the other parts of the galaxy and to erase the knowledge of gods and replace it with the truth of science. So while they're doing that, he eventually takes a step back from the Great Crusade and lets his son Horus Lupercal take over as the War Master. So things are going great. They're making great progress, taking over planets, and they're nearing the end of the Crusade when Horus Lupercal is corrupted by the Chaos Gods that I mentioned earlier, and he is twisted and, through some desire of his own, turns against the Emperor. So thus begins what's called the Horus Heresy, which was a war in roughly the year 30,000, in which Horus and 8 of his other brothers turn against the Emperor and attempt to destroy the Imperium. So they get to Terra, which is Earth, by the way, and they really mess things up, and eventually Horus and the Emperor fight, and the Emperor kills Horus but receives a mortal wound for his troubles, And so he has to be placed on something called the Golden Throne. Now, this is a life support system for the Emperor, first of all, which is powered by 1,000 Psychers daily. Which Psychers, what I mentioned earlier, people that can manifest power from the warp. And it is also effectively a lighthouse within the warp, giving everyone that is traveling through the warp a point to focus on so they can navigate around it. So he is placed on the Golden Throne with his body dying and his mind still active, and he sits there and he rots for the past 10,000 years. And this brings us to modern day Imperium. But let's go back to the Primarchs for a second. So, as I said, the Emperor has 20 sons. Something happened to 2 of them. We don't know what. So, 18 sons now. And half of them stayed loyal, so 9 of them, and half of them turned against the Emperor. So, a Primarch is a piece of the Emperor, essentially, given form within a lab. And they grow up, they're massively powerful. If the Emperor is a god, the Primarchs are essentially demigods. And each Primarch is given a legion of Space Marines. They're the big face of Warhammer 40k. You've probably heard of them. And each Space Marine Legion is given traits from their specific Primarch. So they're essentially the Primarch's sons, making them grandsons of the Emperor. In a way, kind of. And so the 2 main Primarchs in the setting right now are Rabute Gilliman of the Ultramarines and Lionel Johnson of the Dark Angels Legions. There are other Primarchs, but we'll cover those in separate videos. But if you're getting into Warhammer, those are the 2 that you are probably going to learn the most about and you need to know the most about. So the Imperium is a dying empire on its last legs, waiting for something to happen to either destroy it or save it, whether that's the Emperor waking up or the Chaos Gods finally reaching Terra and destroying it, whatever it is. But there are different armies within the Imperium that you may want to play on the tabletop. Those are the Space Marines, which I'm sure you've obviously heard of. They are the most popular and the most supported by Games Workshop, who make Warhammer. There are sub-legions within the Space Marines too, making them a very diverse choice, and they're relatively easy to play. There's also the Sisters of Battle, also known as the Adeptus Sororitas, who are essentially nuns with guns. It's really funny. If you find that cool, play them, check them out. There are the Custodes, who are essentially the Emperor's bodyguards. They are super, super elite warriors, clad in gold. They are almost on Primarch level of power, maybe a touch below, depending on the Primarch. There is the Adeptus Mechanicus, who is technically separate from the Imperium, but they're partnered with the Imperium, so I kind of count them with them, who are a religious cult who believe in the power of technology over the power of flesh. They chop off bits of themselves to be replaced with augmetics. Their saying is, the flesh is weak, metal is strong, hoorah, all that stuff. So if you find cyborg stuff really cool, check them out. They are super expensive, so be warned of that. And then there are the Astra Militarum, also known as the Imperial Guard. These guys are impressive. They are regular dudes, not genetically modified like at all, who believe that quantity has a quality all of its own. So if you have a demonic incursion, throw a billion guardsmen at it. They'll take it out. Don't you worry about it. They are the first and the last line of defense for the Imperium. They are stalwart. It's said on a planet that was destroyed with them defending it that the planet broke before the Guard did. They are seriously impressive dudes. There is also the Imperial Knights, which are essentially just massive walking cities with people piloting them and weapons strapped on them. They are really cool models. I would love to get one and paint one someday. I'm not sure about their play style, but if you're building a 1,000-point army, you just need like 2 or 3 knight models, and you got it. So if you're going for bang for your buck, that's a good place to start. So that's just some of the armies from the Imperium of Man that you can play on the tabletop. And by the way, pro tip, golden rule, play whatever army you find cool. I don't care if you like the Tyranids or the Necrons, we'll cover those in later videos, or if you like the Space Wolves or whatever. Don't worry about the rules of any army that you play, just play whatever you find cool, okay? I'm going to cap this off with this right here. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 centuries, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of a million worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day, so that he may never truly die. Yet, even in his deathless state, the Emperor continues his eternal vigilance. Mighty battle fleets cross the demon-infested miasma of the warp, the only route between distant stars, their way lit by the Astronomicon, the psychic manifestation of the Emperor's will. Vast armies give battle in his name on uncounted worlds. Greatest amongst his soldiers are the Adeptus Astartes, the Space Marines, bioengineered super warriors. Their comrades in arms are Legion, the Imperial Guard, and countless planetary defense forces, the ever-vigilant Inquisition, and the tech priests of the Adeptus Mechanicus, to name only a few. But for all their multitudes, they are barely enough to hold off the ever-present threat from aliens, heretics, mutants, and worse. To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. There is no peace among the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods. So that was my video on the Imperium of Man. I didn't cover a lot, obviously. Warhammer is a massive franchise. There are dozens and dozens of videos out there. But I wanted to cast my hat into the ring because I really enjoy this universe, and I just want to make some content about it, honestly. So let me know what you guys thought. Like and subscribe if you liked. Comment down below what other topics you'd like me to cover, whether Warhammer related or not. Down for whatever. And with that, see you guys later.